Good morning, tubers. I'm making this from my truck today. I've been thinking a lot about priorities. We all only have so much time in a day, and what we do with that time determines the structure of our lives. People who sit around watching television, eating Cheetos, going to work, stressing out, not sleeping well, those kinds of people, their lives over time compound and result in something that's just not very satisfying. And then you have someone who builds a habit of daily exercise or who builds a habit of watching their diet, and those decisions compound over a lifetime to create different results. And when it comes to our lives with God, it's very similar. I have in my life too many things going on, too many things to do between dating, having a job, taking care of your house, being social, and just personal projects and movies. Movies take up too much time. But the things in our lives that we do that aren't in the service of God, those are things that can take away from our time with God, especially if we find ourselves not having enough time for Him. That means something has to go. And I've been thinking about things that need to go with me. And probably the two biggest ones that I can think of are dating and movies. I mean, there's no mention of any of those in the Bible. Of course, during biblical times, marriages were more arranged than anything. And a lot of times people got married off of the spoils of war. But now we're all a peaceful society. And this concept of going out together, hanging out, seeing whether or not you like each other, and whether or not the two of you are stable enough people to consider a lifetime partnership, and where that partnership doesn't have any consequences. Let's go with that. In a society like China, all right, getting married, getting divorced has severe social consequences. And it's also not just a marriage of two people, it's a merging of families. Like a business merger, I guess. And in a lot of Arabic countries where most of the Bible occurred and was written, or not in Arabic, Middle Eastern, let's go with that. A lot of marriages are arranged. Uh, the family decides the husband and the wife. And I've read studies that arranged marriages have slightly higher rates of happiness than I don't know what you would call the kind of marriages we have here. Egalitarian, or marriages of convenience, marriages based on want and desire instead of being based on commitment. That's the word I'm looking for, commitment. And it doesn't seem like this whole dating process really has much emphasis on commitment. Everyone's looking for something different. And finding, even once you do find someone who's looking for what you want, like a long-term, lifetime relationship, then whether or not the two of you get along is a whole other story. And it seems like, from my perspective, a lot of effort going into something on my half that I really could just let go of. Live more of my life towards being faithful to God and less of my life towards finding a wife to settle down with and have a family. And of course, the movies, that's just entertainment. It should be easy for me to give that up. But I am kind of a movie person. I love watching movies. I've got so many of them. And then you get to think that if you watch 2 or 3 movies in a day, that's 3-4 hours of your day. gone. And you could spend that time, I could spend that time praying. I mean, even the time it takes me to do one movie, that's a session of Bible study, that's prayer, that's singing, and that's all in less than an hour. And that's all God asks of us. He says, "Come to me, for my burden is easy, and my yoke is light." Yeah. Or my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Yeah, that's what it is. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Shucks. But God asks so little of us. And I think in order for me to give him what I think is a perfectly reasonable contribution of my life, I'm going to have to eliminate some things, give myself more time to give to him. And that's just a question of priorities. All of us have these questions. And we have to think that in order to have a cell phone, in order to have a car, in order to pay insurance, in order to buy daycare, all of these things require monetary contributions and contributions of our time. And the time isn't only in the time that we spend doing those things, but it's also measured in the money that we give to them. Now, let's say you make $10 an hour, all right, and it costs you $60 a month to go to softball league. I don't know. That's 6 hours of your month that you're giving to that regularly. Or if it's $30 to play bingo every week. You know, everything that we do requires a contribution. And very few times do we ask ourselves whether or not that contribution is in the greater service of our lives, whether or not it's something that would please the Lord. He is ultimately the guiding factor in our lives. So I guess I can just encourage you to be more aware of the way that you spend your time, because in order for God to be a part of our lives, we have to give him time. We have to make that investment every day. And if we could think of anything in life that is more worth our time, more worth our effort, God would be it. It said, Jesus said, "Mary has chosen the good portion, and it will not be taken from her." And he also said of Martha, "You are troubled over many things." And isn't that dichotomy, the difference between those two people, constantly at work within ourselves? We are always looking at our life and always fretting over so many things that society expects and requires of us. But the good portion is so simple. In that simplicity, it lies its worth. Anyway, that's all I have to say for today. I would encourage you to be kind, to ease the suffering of those who reach out to you when you have a chance to. It is one of our greatest purposes. And if you would like to give more of your life to God, but you don't know God, I would like to invite you to a prayer of salvation. It's kind of like welcome to the club. Let's pray. Father, I know that I've spent my time, I've spent my days frivolously. I've given to causes that weren't really worth it. And if I had given it more thought, if I had given it more awareness and more reflection, I probably wouldn't have chosen to spend my time in a similar way again. This is a lesson that I am learning. I ask that you refocus my mind, bring me closer to you in terms of the time spent on you and in terms of the time spent on other things. I recognize that I am a sinner, that my life has not been perfect or ideal, that I have done many things which hurt people, which hurt myself, which I'm not proud of. And I would like to ask your forgiveness for those things. I recognize that your Son, Jesus Christ, he died for me, that I might have this forgiveness that you offer so freely for everything that I've done, good and bad. And I accept that salvation now. Save me, Father, that I may join you in heaven one day and guide my path forward, that I may know that you are the good portion, you're my good portion, and help me to choose you. In Jesus' name, amen. I hope y'all have a good one. Oh man, it's a beautiful sunny day here in Texas. Go outside, have some fun. Later.